Welcome to the series of videos on pipe network productivity tools for AutoCAD Civil 3D. In this video, we'll discuss the Structure Detail Report tool. Oftentimes in doing pipe design, we're dealing with precast structures. And when we get to a construction point, we need to provide that information over to the contractor, or somebody does, so that the pipes can be cut out of the structures for field construction. And so in the past, I've had to go through and do this and create these worksheets that are schematics that show the angles of the pipes entering in the structure, the sizes of the pipes and whatnot, so that the contractor can get these cut and ordered appropriately. And so within Pipe Network Productivity Tools, we've created a tool that can help with this process. And there's no other way to do it in Civil 3D other than manual drafting of each of these. And so that's the reason for generating some kind of tool that would help us with this. And so if we take a look at this, we've got attributed blocks that define all this information. And currently you have your structure size here, and then we're supporting up to 4 inverts in or out of the structure for pipes going in and out of the structure. So if you need additional, you can make up to 10 pipes coming into a structure, but you would have to modify this block. And so the whole idea here is we do ship this with the drawing and the blocks and whatnot. So you would need to insert those settings in your drawing, and then from there you can modify the blocks, and then you would build them into the settings for how this works, which we do have some tools for that. And so on the Pipe Network Tools ribbon tab, you'll go to the Structures panel. In the drop down, you'll see a Detail Report Settings command. So if you run this, you have the option of looking at the settings dialog, and prepackaging in some settings and saving those. They do save to the DWG. And then we also have the option of inserting all the blocks that it uses. And so you can just drop all those blocks into your drawing, and you'll get all of this data for what it utilizes. And you can make modifications to those blocks and save them to the drawing. And then it will utilize those saved blocks in your template drawing to generate these. And so that's kind of the process. And then once you get the blocks made, you would go in and modify the settings and save those, so those are saved to the drawing, and then that would work for future drawings. And so my recommendation for now is to build a template that would work with this, and then you would data shortcut over your pipes into that drawing, and then use the tool within the Pipe Network Tools ribbon to generate your drawings like this. So let's kind of talk through the dialogue and how all this works. And so on the Pipe Network Tools Structure tab, we saw this settings option that we're currently in. And then there's also the Detail Report tool, and this is actually running the report. And so let's switch over to another drawing here that's just blank, that doesn't have any of this data in, just to show how it kind of works. And so if I run the drawing or run the command here, and then I'm going to select the network that I want to work with. Now you can also do all networks, you can do multiple, you can do your path, your alignment, all of those selection options are there. And essentially we're just grabbing structures and passing them into the command. So I'm going to use network, and I'm going to use the proposed storm sewer system here and hit apply. And then do I want to filter? No, I don't want to filter. Next, I'll get this dialog here, and you can see there's all the settings here are blank, and so there's no settings in here. The OK button is grayed out. So here, if you look at this note, you do have to load in some settings. If there are settings in the dialog, then, or in the drawing, then this will be collapsed and it'll be available for use so that you can work with it. So since this drawing has no settings, I'm going to go ahead and load in the default. And so now they're in here. And so we have some basic information. So we're using on the report border, here's the block that's being utilized, and then the scale of that block, the layer of that block, and then we have attributes that are defined within that block. And so this will automatically pull in a list of the attributes defined. So if you want to modify this structure report form and add additional attributes, you can do that, and then they'll populate here in the settings. And then you have the ability to enter in, like, what's the property type here. Do you just want to enter in text and the user controls that? And so you could do that way, or you could specify various parameters about your network that you're referencing in. And then you would be able to have that listed out there for like the job name or job location. You could reference parameters if needed. So these are the ones that we're pre-packaging it with. And then we also have the ability to do additional custom attributes. So these are the primary ones. Some may show up here on this custom tab. Next, we get into the structures. And so with structures, we can have circular structures, rectangular structures, and end structures. So note the tabs here for what you're dealing with. So for a circular structure, the block is a structure table circular, and then the scale of that block and the layer that they're going on. And then within that block, again, here's how the different attributes we have in this defined block. Again, if you modify this would come in with additional attributes here. Again, some may show up on the custom tab. Similarly, you have the ability to reference properties here about the pipe. So in this case, we want the pipe's invert elevation, and then the pipe direction in or out, and the index is basically showing like how it gets filtered in. For rectangular, we have a rectangular block for how that gets displayed, and then do the same thing with the different properties and whatnot. And then again, for end structures, you have that control as well. So you can control how those blocks output, the look of them, all of that stuff, and we're just giving you ability to control the attributes. Then on the pipes tab, we have a block for the in pipe that we're calling out here for in direction, and you could have attributes on that get labeled in the small plan view schematic. We have the out direction for how that gets shown, and then we have the polylines here. And so with the polylines, how is it drawing the pipe? And that is, I'll flip back over here in a second and show you what those are truly referring to. But these are drawing from the inside wall of the pipe along the structure. And then each one gets, based off of its index, gets input in a different color. So these are the colors of those pipes and how they get drawn. And they're just polylines that get added to show the pipe in the schematic. Next, we have the placement tab, and this is how the placement of each, the structure placements within each report. So the order of those structures, the offsets of the X and Y's, and you have control over all of that. The number of structure that get shown on each report sheet. And then lastly, you have the ability to link all of this to a sheet set. So you could add everything into a sheet set. So when it gets created, it would create the blocks and tabs. It does create layouts for each of the sheets that get generated. So those layouts could get added to a sheet set if needed. And the way we've got it is just for 8.5 by 11 sheets for initial setup. So you have ability to control all of that. So next you would just hit OK. And then you would place that in. And so here's all of our sheets that get brought in. And if you take a look here, I'll do a regen. These polylines are what I'm referring to here. So we've got a polyline along the curve. Those are those polylines that I'm referring to. Now, for the in arrows that show this is the pipe coming in, these are the pipes going out. So we're going out in 3 directions in this one, which is probably, not 100% complete, but that's kind of the idea here. Is that it's a good review tool as well for how everything is drawn out and how it would look. So yeah, you have control over the complete look and appearance of these blocks that generate. And then down at the bottom, you can see it did create the tabs here. And so these are these layout tabs that were in this drawing were just copied from the sheet that's already in here. So what you would want to do is get that set up as your base layout of what it's going to utilize, and then it's going to copy that as it creates sheets. And so if these are not 8.5 by 11, or if there's something else, you might want to set that up in your template to work a little bit better here with how these get laid out. But the idea then is that you can just quickly print these out and have this in here and ready to go. So up here at the top, we do give space for your company logo, and again, that's in the block that you can modify this data and design this however you want for that block. So that's the structure detail report tool. Looking to hear more feedback on this tool and how we can improve it and help workflows for those that find this useful and would like to use it. So please reach out to support at Red Transit Consultants as you use this tool, and let us know how it's helping and what we can do to continue improving this functionality.
Thanks for watching. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and be sure to check out our other apps on the Autodesk Exchange Store.